Hey there. Before we jump into this crazy story, let me ask you something fun. Where are you reading this from today? Maybe you're at home, at school, or somewhere cool. Drop it in the comments below. And if you like stories that grab you and don't let go, hit that subscribe button so we can hang out more. Okay, ready? Here we go. Imagine this, I'm just a regular guy named Sam. I live way out in the countryside, where it's all quiet and peaceful. I've got a little farm that I love taking care of every single day. On my farm, there are some chickens that cluck and run around, a couple of cows that munch on grass, and a big, bright red barn that I built all by myself. Yup, I hammered every nail and painted every inch of that barn with my own hands. It's my favorite place on the farm because it's where I keep my tools, some hay for the animals, and sometimes I just sit there to think. Life out here is simple and nice, you know? I wake up with the sun, feed my animals, and watch the day go by. It's the kind of life where nothing too wild happens, at least, that's how it used to be. Then, one day, everything changed. That's when Karen showed up. Now, Karen isn't just any person. She's my neighbor, and let me tell you, she's the kind of lady who thinks the whole world belongs to her. She lives in a house not too far from my farm, and she's got this big, shiny SUV that she loves more than anything. It's one of those fancy cars that sparkle in the sun, and she's always driving it around like she's the queen of the town. Everyone knows Karen around here. She's the lady who'd argue with you over a penny if she dropped it on the ground. She'd stand there, hands on her hips, telling you it's her penny and you can't have it. That's just how she is, loud, bossy, and always thinking she's right. So, one morning, I walk outside to check on my chickens. The sun's just coming up, the air smells like grass, and I'm feeling good. I head over to my barn to grab some feed, but when I get there, I stop dead in my tracks. Guess what I see? Karen's shiny SUV is parked right inside my barn. Yup, you heard me, she drove her car straight through the big doors and left it there, like it's her own personal parking spot. No asking, no hey, Sam, is this okay? Nothing. She just decided my barn was hers now. I stand there, blinking, thinking, did I miss something? Is this a joke? But nope, it's real. Her car is sitting on my hay, right next to my tools, like it belongs there. I look around, wondering how this even happened. My barn isn't close to her house, it's on my land, behind a little fence I put up. She had to drive over my grass, open my barn doors, and pull in like she owned the place. I scratch my head, trying to figure out why she'd do this. Maybe she needed a spot to park? But she's got a driveway at her house? Maybe her car broke down? Nope, it looks fine, all shiny and ready to go. I'm confused, but I decide to be nice about it. I walk over to her house, knock on her door, and when she opens it, I say, "Hey, Karen, your car's in my barn. Could you move it, please? I need that space for my stuff." Simple, right? I'm not mad yet, just asking. But Karen? She doesn't even blink. She looks at me like I'm the one being weird. Then she says, "Oh, Sam, it's not a big deal. Stop being so fussy. It's just a barn." And then she shuts the door in my face. I stand there on her porch, my mouth hanging open. Fussy? It's my barn. I built it. I use it every day. But to her, it's like I'm the crazy one for not wanting her car in there. I walk back to my farm, shaking my head, thinking, okay, maybe she'll move it later. Spoiler alert, she didn't. The next day, I go out to the barn again. Guess what? Her SUV is still there. Not only that, but now there's a coffee cup sitting on my workbench, like she stopped for a snack while parking. I'm starting to get annoyed. This isn't a one-time thing anymore, it's like she's claiming my barn as her own. I try talking to her again. I knock on her door and say, "Karen, please, I really need my barn. Can you park somewhere else?" This time, she laughs a big, loud laugh and says, "Sam, you've got plenty of space. Stop whining." Then she walks away, leaving me standing there, feeling like I'm talking to a wall. Days turn into weeks, and Karen keeps doing it. Every few days, I'd find her car in my barn. Sometimes she'd leave trash like wrappers or soda cans, and once, she even scratched my workbench with her keys by accident. I'd see her driving up, opening my barn doors, and parking like it's no big deal. She'd look at me through her window, give a little smirk, and walk off to her house. It's like she wanted me to see her doing it. People in town started noticing too. My friend Tom, who runs the little store nearby, said, "Sam, that Karen's a piece of work. She argues with everyone, don't let her get to you." But it's hard not to let it get to me when it's my barn she's taking over. Everyone in town knows Karen's like this. She's the lady who'll yell at the mailman for being 5 minutes late or argue with the cashier over a coupon that expired last year. She's got this way of acting like everything belongs to her, your time, your space, even your patience. But no one knew what I was starting to think about. See, I'm a quiet guy. I don't yell or make a big fuss. I like my simple life with my chickens and cows. But every time Karen parked in my barn, something inside me started to change. I wasn't just annoyed anymore, I was getting an idea. A sneaky, clever idea. Are you curious yet? Can you guess what I might do? Picture this, your favorite toy or your secret hideout, something that's all yours. Then imagine someone keeps taking it, acting like it's no big deal. What would you do if someone kept invading your space like that? Would you let it slide, or would you fight back? Tell me in the comments, I want to know. Because let me tell you, I didn't just sit there and take it. Karen thought she could keep parking in my barn forever, but she had no idea what was coming. She didn't know that this quiet farmer was about to turn the tables on her in a way she'd never forget. See, I started watching her. Every time she parked, I'd notice little things. Like how she always left her car unlocked. Or how she'd strut back to her house without even looking back. She was so sure I wouldn't do anything. She thought I was just fussy Sam, too nice to push back. But I wasn't going to let her win. My barn is mine. I built it with my hands, sweat dripping down my face, hammering nails until my arms hurt. It's not just a building, it's my space, my hard work. And Karen? She didn't care about that. She didn't care about me at all. That's when I decided, enough is enough. I started thinking about my barn doors. They're big and strong, made of thick wood. And they've got this huge lock I put on them a while back, a padlock, heavy and rusty, but it works just fine. I'd only used it once or twice, like when a big storm was coming and I wanted to keep everything safe inside. But now that lock was looking pretty interesting to me. I'd walk out to the barn, run my fingers over it, and smile a little. Karen didn't know it yet, but that lock was about to become her worst nightmare. She thought she could keep parking in my barn forever, leaving her trash, scratching my stuff, smirking at me like I was nothing. But I had a plan brewing, a plan so simple, so perfect, it'd make her think twice before ever coming near my farm again. What do you think so far? Can you feel how mad I was getting? Have you ever had someone push you too far, like Karen was pushing me? Maybe a friend who borrowed your stuff and never gave it back, or someone who kept breaking your rules. I bet you've got a story, share it with me below. Because this story's just getting started, and trust me, it's about to get wild. Karen had no clue what was coming her way, and I couldn't wait to see her face when she figured it out. My simple life was about to get a whole lot more exciting, and Karen was about to learn a lesson she'd never forget. So, picture me standing there, looking at her SUV in my barn for the 100th time. The sun's setting, the chickens are clucking, and I'm holding that big, heavy lock in my hands. I'm not just Sam the farmer anymore. I'm Sam with a plan. And Karen? She's about to find out that even quiet guys like me have a breaking point. Stick around, because this story's got a twist that'll make you laugh, cheer, and maybe even say, "Wow, Sam, you're a genius. What would you do with that lock if you were me?" Tell me, I'm dying to hear your ideas. Let's keep this going together. Okay, let's dive into this part of the story. Things are about to get a little wild, and I'm going to tell it so you feel like you're right there with me. Picture this, it's me, Sam, just trying to live my quiet life on my little farm. But then Karen, my bossy neighbor, starts making trouble. And trust me, it's the kind of trouble that makes you want to pull your hair out. Ready? Here we go. So, it all started small. One morning, I wake up early like I always do. The sun's just peeking over the hills, the air smells fresh, and my chickens are clucking away, waiting for breakfast. I pull on my boots, grab a bucket of feed, and head out to the barn. That's my routine, simple and happy. But when I get to the barn, I stop dead in my tracks. My big red barn doors are wide open, and there's Karen's shiny SUV parked right in the middle. Yup, her big, fancy car is smack dab where my hay bales usually sit. The hay's all pushed to the side, like she shoved it out of her way. My tools, my hammer, my shovel, my rake are knocked over, scattered on the ground. It's a mess. She didn't even try to be careful. She just drove in and parked, like my barn was her own little garage. I stand there, staring, my mouth wide open. I can't believe it. This isn't her barn, it's mine. I built it with my own 2 hands, hammering nails until my fingers hurt. It's where I keep my stuff, where I take care of my animals. And now Karen's car is sitting there, all shiny and smug, like it belongs. I take a deep breath and try to stay calm. Maybe she had a reason, right? Maybe her driveway was full or something. So, I decide to be nice about it. I walk over to her house, just a little ways down the road, and knock on her door. She opens it, looking annoyed already, like I'm bothering her. I smile and say, "Hey, Karen, can you not park there? It's my barn, and I need it for my stuff." Simple, polite, no big deal. But Karen? Oh, she doesn't care. She rolls her eyes at me, big, dramatic rolls, like I'm the silliest person she's ever met. Then she snaps, "It's not hurting anyone, Sam. Stop being so picky." And just like that, she shuts the door in my face. I'm left standing there on her porch, blinking. Picky. Picky. It's my barn. I'm not being picky, I just want my own space. I walk back to my farm, my boots kicking up dust, and I'm starting to feel a little mad. She acted like I was the crazy one for asking her to move her car. Like it's totally normal to park in someone else's barn without even asking. I shake my head and tell myself, okay, Sam, maybe she'll move it soon. Give her a chance. But guess what? She didn't move it. Not that day, not the next day, nope. Her car stayed right there in my barn, like it was glued to the spot. I had to squeeze around it to get my tools. I had to stack my hay in a weird corner just to make room. It was annoying, but I kept my cool. I fed my chickens, milked my cows, and tried to forget about it. Then, a few days later, I go out to the barn again. Her car's gone finally. I think, great, she's done. But the next morning? Boom, there it is again. Parked in my barn, same spot, like it never left. This time, there's a soda can sitting on my workbench, like she had a little picnic in there. She didn't even throw it away, just left it for me to clean up. Now I'm really starting to get ticked off. I march back to her house, knock on her door, and say, "Karen, please, I need my barn. Can you stop parking there?" She opens the door, looks at me like I'm a bug she wants to squish, and laughs. She actually laughs. "Oh, Sam," she says, "you're making a big fuss over nothing. It's just a barn. Relax." Then she walks away, leaving me standing there again. I can feel my face getting hot. Relax. How am I supposed to relax when she keeps taking over my barn? It's not just a barn to me, it's mine. I built it. I use it every day. But to her, it's like I don't even matter. From then on, it's like a game she's playing and I'm losing. Every week, sometimes twice a week, her car shows up in my barn. Monday morning. There it is. Friday afternoon. Yup, there again. She doesn't ask, doesn't say sorry, just parks and walks away. Sometimes I'd see her driving up, her SUV bouncing over my grass, straight to my barn. She'd swing those big doors open, pull in, and hop out with this little smirk on her face. Like she knew it bugged me and she liked it. She'd look over at me, standing by my chickens, and give me this tiny wave like she's saying, "What are you gonna do about it, Sam?" Then she'd strut back to her house, leaving her car behind. It's not just the parking that gets to me, it's the mess she leaves. One day, I find an empty chip bag on the ground. Another time, there's a coffee cup with lipstick on it, right next to my hammer. Once, she even scratched my workbench with her keys. There's a big, ugly line across it now. I'd clean it up, fix what I could, but it kept happening. My barn, my nice, quiet place, was turning into her trash can. And every time I asked her to stop, she'd laugh it off. "Oh, Sam, you're so funny," she'd say. "It's not a big deal." But it was a big deal to me. I could feel my patience wearing thin, like a rope that's fraying little by little. At first, I'd been nice. I'd ask politely. I'd tried to let it go. But now I was getting mad. Really mad. Every time I saw her car in my barn, my stomach would twist. I'd clench my fists and take deep breaths, telling myself to stay calm. I didn't want to yell or start a fight. I'm not that kind of guy. I like my peaceful life. I like feeding my chickens and watching my cows chew grass. But Karen was pushing me, and I didn't know how much more I could take. People in town started talking about it too. My buddy Tom, who works at the little store down the road, saw me one day and said, "Sam, what's with Karen parking in your barn all the time?" I told him the whole story, how she kept doing it, how she laughed at me when I asked her to stop. Tom shook his head and said, "That lady's trouble. She argues with everybody. Don't let her get to you." But it was hard not to. Every time I walked into my barn and saw her car, I'd feel that anger bubbling up again. My neighbors knew Karen was like this. She'd fight over anything, big or small. But they didn't know what I was starting to think about. See, while I was staying calm on the outside, something was happening inside my head. I was starting to make a plan. A sneaky, clever plan. Karen thought she could keep parking in my barn forever. She thought I'd just keep asking nicely and then give up. She thought I was weak because I didn't shout or argue back. But she didn't know me. Not really. I'm quiet, sure, but I'm not a pushover. Every time she smirked at me, every time she left her trash in my barn, I'd add a little piece to my idea. I wasn't just going to let her win. I was going to do something she'd never see coming. I started paying attention to little things. Like how she always parked her car in the same spot, right in the middle. Or how she'd leave it there for hours, sometimes a whole day, before coming back to get it. I noticed how she never locked her car doors. Guess she thought no one would dare touch her precious SUV. I'd watch her through my window, seeing that smirk as she walked away. She was so sure of herself, so sure I wouldn't fight back. But that's where she was wrong. My patience was running out, and my plan was growing bigger. I'd sit in my kitchen at night, sipping milk from my cows, thinking it all through. My barn has these big, strong doors, wooden ones I made myself. And on those doors is a lock. A big, heavy padlock I'd used once or twice before. It's rusty, but it works just fine. I'd picture that lock in my mind, turning it over and over. What if I used it? What if I locked her car in there? The idea made me smile, a little grin at first, then a bigger one. Karen thought she could keep invading my space, laughing at me like I was nothing. But I wasn't nothing. I was Sam, and I was done being nice. So, there I was, stuck in this tug of war with Karen. She kept parking, I kept asking her to stop, and she kept laughing. The tension was building, like a storm cloud, getting darker and darker. I could feel it in my chest, anger, yes, but also something else. Determination. I wasn't going to let her take my barn from me. It's mine, my space, my work, my peace. And she was messing with all of it. Little did she know, I wasn't just sitting there feeling mad. I was planning. I was waiting. And soon, she'd find out what happens when you push a quiet guy like me too far. Alright, let's keep this story rolling. We're deep in the mess now, and I'm going to keep you right here with me, step by step, as things get even more tense. Karen's pushing me hard, and I'm trying to stay cool, but oh boy, it's getting tough. Ready to see what happens next? Let's go. So, there I am, Sam, just trying to keep my farm life peaceful. But Karen's shiny SUV keeps showing up in my barn like it's her new home. It's not just once or twice anymore, it's all the time. Every week, sometimes twice a week, I'd walk out to feed my chickens or grab a tool, and boom, there's her car again. It's like a bad dream that won't stop. The hay's always shoved to the side, my tools are a mess, and she doesn't even care. I'd stand there, staring at it, feeling my heart beat faster. This isn't right. It's my barn. I built it from scratch, hammering every board, painting it red until my arms ached. It's where I keep my stuff safe, where I go to think. And Karen? She's treating it like her personal parking lot. I kept trying to be nice, though. That's who I am, Quiet Sam, the guy who doesn't make a fuss. One day, after finding her car there again, I march over to her house. My boots crunch on the gravel, and I'm practicing what to say in my head. Stay calm, Sam, I tell myself. I knock on her door, and she opens it, already looking bored. Hey, Karen, I say, keeping my voice steady, can you not park in my barn? I really need that space. She doesn't even let me finish. She rolls her eyes so hard I think they might pop out, then snaps, Sam, it's not hurting anyone. Stop being so picky. Picky? I'm not picky. It's my barn, my rules. But before I can say anything else, she slams the door shut. I'm left standing there, my hands in my pockets, feeling like a fool. I walk back to my farm, kicking a rock down the path. My head's spinning. How does she not get it? It's not about being picky, it's about what's mine. But Karen doesn't care. She keeps doing it, over and over. One morning, I find her car there with a candy wrapper on the floor. Another day, there's a soda can rolling around by my shovel. She's not just parking, she's leaving her junk behind, like my barn's her trash can. I'd pick it up, toss it out, but it keeps happening. It's like she's testing me, seeing how much I'll take before I snap. And let me tell you, I'm getting close. Sometimes, I'd see her pull up. I'd be out feeding my chickens, and her SUV would roll right over my grass, straight to my barn. She'd hop out, fling the doors open, and park like it's no big deal. Then she'd look over at me, standing there with my bucket of feed, and give this little smirk. A tiny, mean smile, like she's saying, "Gotcha, Sam." Then she'd strut back to her house, her shoes clicking on the ground, leaving me steaming. It's like she wants me to get mad. Like she enjoys it. And every time, I'd feel that knot in my stomach get tighter. My patience. It's wearing thin, like a shirt that's been washed too many times. But I'd take a deep breath, count to 10, and keep my cool. For now. The neighbors started noticing too. One day, I'm at the little store in town, buying some nails, and my friend Tom leans over the counter. "Sam," he says, "what's with Karen parking in your barn all the time? I saw her car there again yesterday." I sigh and tell him everything, how she keeps doing it, how she laughs when I ask her to stop, how she acts like I'm the crazy one. Tom shakes his head and says, "That lady's a handful. She argues with everyone, don't let her get under your skin." I nod, but inside, I'm thinking, too late, Tom. She's already there. Because every time I see her car, every time I hear her laugh, it's like a little poke in my chest. Poke, poke, poke until I want to yell. But I don't yell. I'm not that guy. I go home, feed my cows, and try to forget about it. Except I can't. It keeps happening. One afternoon, I walk into the barn and see her car again. This time, there's a big scratch on my workbench. A long, ugly mark, like she dragged her keys across it without a care. I run my fingers over it, feeling the rough edge, and my jaw tightens. That workbench? I made it myself. It's where I fix things, where I plan my day. And now it's ruined because of her. I look at her car, sitting there all shiny and proud, and I think, this has to stop. But how? What do I do? I can't keep asking, she doesn't listen. I can't move her car, it's too heavy, and it's not mine to touch. I'm stuck. Days turn into weeks, and Karen gets bolder. She doesn't just park and leave now, she hangs around sometimes. One day, I catch her standing in my barn, sipping coffee, looking at her phone. My barn. She's acting like it's her porch or something. I walk up and say, "Karen, what are you doing? This is my barn." She barely looks up, just waves her hand like I'm a fly buzzing around. "Oh, Sam, relax," she says. "I'm just taking a break. It's fine." Then she walks off, leaving her coffee cup behind. I pick it up, crush it in my hand, and toss it in the trash. My face is hot, my hands are shaking. Relax. How am I supposed to relax when she's turning my barn into her hangout spot? It's not just the barn anymore, it's everything. She's loud when she drives up, honking her horn like she's announcing herself. She leaves tire marks on my grass. She even started parking crooked, taking up more space, so I can barely get around her car to reach my stuff. My chickens cluck louder when she's around, like they're mad too. My cows stare at her car like they're confused. It's messing up my whole farm, my whole day. And every time I try to talk to her, it's the same thing: eye rolls, laughs. Stop being picky, Sam. I'm not picky, I'm fed up. I start losing sleep over it. I'd lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, hearing her car engine in my head. I'd think about my barn, how it used to be my quiet place, and now it's hers. I'd picture her smirk, her laugh, and my fists would clench under the blanket. I'm a calm guy, a nice guy, but Karen's pushing me to a place I don't like. I can feel my patience slipping away, little by little, like sand through my fingers. But I don't want to explode, not yet. Instead, I start thinking. Really thinking. What can I do? How do I make her stop? That's when the idea starts to grow. See, I'm not just mad, I'm smart. I notice things. Like how she always parks in the same spot, right in the middle. How she leaves her car unlocked every time. How she walks away without looking back, so sure I won't do anything. I start watching her closer. One day, I see her pull in, park, and leave her keys on the seat right there, plain as day. Another time, she's gone for hours, and her car just sits there, empty. I walk around the barn, looking at the doors, the walls, the lock. That big, rusty padlock I've got hanging on a nail. I pick it up, feel its weight in my hand, and a tiny smile creeps onto my face. A real plan is starting to take shape. I don't tell anyone about it, not Tom, not my other neighbors. This is mine to figure out. Karen thinks she's winning. She thinks I'm too nice, too quiet, to push back. She keeps parking, keeps smirking, keeps laughing. And every time, I add a little more to my idea. I'm not just going to ask her to stop anymore. I'm not going to beg or argue. I'm going to do something big, something clever. She doesn't know it yet, but I'm not the pushover she thinks I am. My barn is mine, and I'm taking it back. The tension's building now, can't you feel it? It's like a rubber band stretched tight, ready to snap. Every day, I wake up wondering if her car will be there. Every time I see it, my blood boils a little more. But I stay calm on the outside, quiet Sam, just feeding his chickens, milking his cows. Inside, though. Inside, I'm ready. Karen's got no clue what's coming. She thinks she's in charge, but she's wrong. I'm not just mad, I'm planning. And soon, she's going to find out what happens when you mess with a guy like me one too many times. Alright, let's keep going with the story. Things are getting spicier now, and I'm going to tell it so you feel like you're right there with me, watching it all happen. Karen's making everything crazier, and I'm starting to figure out how to fight back. It's sneaky, it's fun, and it's building up to something big. Ready? Here we go. So, weeks went by after Karen started parking her shiny SUV in my barn. It wasn't just once in a while anymore, it was all the time. Every few days, I'd walk out to my big red barn, hoping for a normal morning with my chickens and cows. But nope, there'd be her car again, sitting right in the middle like it owned the place. At first, it was just annoying. I'd grumble, move my hay around it, and try to keep going. But then Karen got bolder. She didn't just park and leave, she started treating my barn like her own little hangout spot. And trust me, that made me madder than a wet hen. One day, I go out to the barn, and her car's there, of course. But this time, I see something new. There's a coffee cup sitting on my workbench. Not just any coffee cup, one with lipstick on it, like she stood there sipping it all fancy before walking off. I pick it up, and it's still warm. She'd been there that morning, acting like my barn was her coffee shop. I toss the cup in the trash, my nose wrinkling. The next day, a candy wrapper's crumpled up on the floor, right by my shovel. Then it's a soda can, rolling around in the hay. It's like my barn's turning into her dumpster, and she doesn't even care. I'd clean it up every time, pick up her junk, sweep the floor, but it kept happening. Coffee cups, wrappers, even a napkin once with ketchup smeared on it. Gross. I started watching her closer after that. I'd peek out my kitchen window when I heard her car rumbling up. Sure enough, there she'd be, driving over my grass, straight to my barn. She'd swing those big doors open, pull her SUV in, and hop out. Then she'd look over at me, standing there with my chicken feed or my watering can, and give me the smirk. A little twist of her lips, like she was saying, "I win, Sam." She'd flip her hair, strut back to her house like she owned everything, and leave her car behind. That smirk? It burned me up inside. It was like she knew she was getting to me, and she loved it. I tried to ignore it, like people in town told me to. One afternoon, I'm at the store, grabbing some bread, and my buddy Tom leans over the counter. "Sam," he says, "I saw Karen's car in your barn again. What's her deal?" I shrug and say, "She keeps parking there, leaving trash, acting like it's hers." Tom laughs and shakes his head. "That's just Karen," he says. "She's bossy with everybody. Ignore her, she'll get bored." Then Mrs. Lucy, who's buying sugar nearby, chimes in. "Yup, Karen argued with me over a parking spot last week. That's how she is. Don't let her bug you, Sam." I nod and smile, but inside, I'm thinking, ignore her? How? She's not just bugging me, she's taking over my barn, my quiet place, my life. But I couldn't ignore it. Every time she parked, it was like a little poke in my side. Poke, poke, poke until I couldn't stand it. I'd see her car, her trash, her smirk, and my hands would ball into fists. Each time she pulled in, I'd feel my face get hot. I wasn't just mad anymore, I was done. Done asking nicely, done cleaning up after her, done letting her win. That's when I started adding little notes to my plan. See, I wasn't going to yell or fight, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm quiet Sam, the farmer who likes his peace. But quiet doesn't mean weak. Quiet means I think, I watch, I plan. And oh boy, was I planning. I'd sit on my porch at night, rocking in my chair, staring at the barn. The moon would shine on those big red doors, and I'd think about what to do. Karen thought she could keep pushing me, but she didn't know I was pushing back in my head, at least. I started noticing more about her. Like how she always parked her car the same way, right in the middle, taking up all the space. Or how she'd leave it there for hours, sometimes a whole day, before coming back. I saw her drop her keys on the seat once, not even locking the doors. She was so sure I wouldn't touch her precious SUV. That made me grin a little. She had no idea I was watching, learning, waiting. One night, I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing her car in my barn, her trash on my floor. So I grabbed my flashlight and walked out there, just me, the crickets, and the dark. I stood in front of the barn doors, shining my light on them. They're big and strong, made of thick wood I cut myself. And hanging on a nail nearby, my lock. A big, heavy padlock, a little rusty but tough as nails. I picked it up, turned it over in my hands, and felt its weight. It was perfect. I slid it through the latch on the doors, just to test it. Click, it snapped shut. I unlocked it again, but my heart was beating fast. That lock was the key to my plan, and Karen didn't have a clue. From then on, every time she parked, I'd add a little more to my idea. One day, I saw her pull in while I was fixing a fence. She smirked at me through her window, like always, and I waved back, just a little wave, nice and calm. But inside, I was thinking, keep smiling, Karen. You won't be smiling soon. Another time, she left a coffee cup and a wrapper, and I picked them up, muttering to myself, this is the last time. I wasn't just cleaning anymore, I was counting down. Each smirk, each piece of trash, each time she strutted away, I'd whisper, you're making it easier for me. She had no idea what was coming, but I did. And it felt good. People in town kept saying, that's just Karen. But I wasn't buying it anymore. Sure, she was bossy with everyone, arguing over pennies, yelling at the mailman, acting like the world was hers. But this was different. This was my barn, my space. And I wasn't going to let her take it. I'd walk by her house sometimes, see her SUV in her driveway, and think, why not park there? She had plenty of room. But no, she wanted my barn, maybe because it bugged me, maybe because she liked winning. Whatever it was, I was done playing her game. I was starting my own. I kept watching her, like a hawk watches a mouse. One morning, she parked and left her window cracked open. I could see her sunglasses on the dashboard, her keys on the seat. She didn't even care, didn't think I'd do anything. Another day, she stayed in the barn for 10 minutes, sipping her coffee, texting on her phone. I stood by my chickens, pretending to work, but I was memorizing every move. She thought I was just quiet Sam, too shy to fight back. But every smirk she gave me, every cup she left, was like fuel for my fire. My plan was growing, and that lock. It was calling my name. Have you ever met someone who just pushes too far? Like a kid who keeps taking your crayons, or a friend who won't stop teasing. What's the wildest thing they've done? Tell me in the comments. I bet it's not as crazy as this. Because Karen was pushing me to the edge, and I was ready to push back. Not with yelling, not with fighting, with something smarter. Something she'd never expect. I'd check that lock every night, running my fingers over it, smiling to myself. It was big, it was heavy, it was perfect. And soon, it was going to change everything. The weeks kept going, and Karen kept parking. She'd pull in, smirk, leave her trash, strut away. But now, I wasn't just mad, I was excited. Every time she did it, I'd think, go ahead, Karen. Keep it up. You're walking right into my trap. People in town had no idea. Tom would say, ignore her, and I'd nod, but I wasn't ignoring her anymore. I was studying her, waiting for the right moment. My barn lock hung there, ready, and my plan was almost set. She thought she was in charge, but she was wrong. Quiet Sam was about to make some noise in the sneakiest way possible. So there I was, watching, planning, counting down. Karen had no clue what was coming. She'd park, smirk, and walk off, thinking she'd won again. But each time, I'd add a little note to my plan: where she parked, how long she stayed, how careless she was. I'd hold that lock in my hands at night, feeling its cold metal, knowing it was my secret weapon. She thought I was nothing, just a farmer she could push around. But I wasn't nothing, I was ready. Ready to take my barn back, ready to show her she'd gone too far. And trust me, it was going to be epic. Okay, friends, we're at the best part now, the big moment you've been waiting for. Everything's been building up, and it's about to explode in the most awesome way. I'm going to tell it like I'm right there, so you can feel the excitement and picture every little thing. Karen's been pushing me too far, but this time, I'm pushing back, and it's going to be so cool. Ready? Let's jump in. So, it all happened on a Friday. The week had been the same old story: Karen parking her shiny SUV in my barn, leaving her trash, smirking at me like she owned the world. I'd been watching her, planning, holding that big, heavy padlock in my hands every night, dreaming about what I'd do. I was tired of her taking my barn, tired of her laughing at me, tired of cleaning up her mess. My patience gone. My plan ready. And Friday? That was the day it all went down. I wake up that morning, same as always. The sun's shining, my chickens are clucking, and I'm feeding them their breakfast. Everything feels normal until I hear that familiar rumble. It's Karen's SUV, rolling over my grass, heading straight for my barn. I peek out from behind my chicken coop, watching her. She swings those big red doors open, pulls her car in, and parks it right in the middle, same spot, same way, like always. She hops out, and there it is, that smirk. That little twist of her lips she always gives me, like she's saying, "What are you gonna do, Sam?" She looks over at me, standing there with my bucket of feed, and waves just a tiny, sassy wave. Then she struts off to her house, her shoes clicking on the ground, leaving her car behind. But this time's different. I don't just stand there fuming. I don't march over and ask her to move it. Nope. This time, I'm ready. As soon as she's out of sight, I drop my bucket and move fast. My heart's pounding, my hands are sweaty, but I'm grinning like crazy. I run to the barn, my boots thumping on the dirt. Her SUV's sitting there, all shiny and smug, just like her. I don't even think twice. I grab those big wooden doors, one in each hand, and swing them shut. They're heavy, but I'm strong from all my farm work. The doors slam together with a loud bang, and the sound echoes across my farm. It feels good, like the start of something big. Then I reach for it, my padlock. That big, rusty, perfect padlock I'd been holding onto, waiting for this moment. It's hanging on a nail by the doors, right where I left it. I snatch it up, my fingers wrapping around the cold metal. It's heavy in my hand, heavier than usual, like it knows what's about to happen. I slide it through the latch on the doors, the little metal loop that keeps them closed. My hands are shaking a tiny bit, but I'm too excited to care. I push the lock down, and click, it snaps shut. Locked tight. Karen's SUV. Trapped inside my barn. She can't get it out. No one can except me, and I've got the key. I step back, looking at the closed doors, the lock shining in the sun. Her car's in there, stuck, and she doesn't even know it yet. I can't help it, I laugh. A big, happy laugh, right there in the middle of my farm. The chickens cluck like they're cheering for me, and the cows moo like they're proud. I did it. After all her smirking, all her trash, all her stop being picky, Sam, I finally did something. Her precious SUV, the one she loves more than anything, is locked up tight in my barn. And me? I'm not sticking around to hear her yell about it. I grab my fishing pole, my cooler, and my truck keys from the house. No phone, no worries, just me and a weekend away. I hop in my old pickup truck, the one with the rusty bumper and the squeaky door, and start the engine. It rumbles to life, and I peel out of my driveway, headed for the lake. The wind's in my hair, the sun's on my face, and I'm free. No Karen, no SUV, no barn trouble, just fishing and quiet. I can't stop smiling as I drive. I picture her walking back to the barn later, ready to get her car, and finding those doors locked. Can you see it? Her face, oh, her face. That smirk turning into a frown, her eyes going wide, her mouth dropping open. She'd realize it then, she messed with the wrong guy. Meanwhile, I'm at the lake, my truck parked by the water. I toss my line in, sit on a rock, and let the day slip by. The fish are biting, the sun's warm, and my mind's calm. Back home, Karen must have figured it out by now. Maybe she went to the barn an hour later, maybe two. She'd walk up, all confident, ready to drive off, then stop. She'd see the lock, tug on the doors, and nothing. Locked tight. Her car, her shiny, fancy SUV, stuck inside. I bet she'd kick the doors, yell my name, Sam. Sam, you let my car out. But I wouldn't be there to hear it. I'm miles away, fishing, laughing to myself every time I think about it. Can you picture her face? That moment she knows she's lost? Her smirk's gone, her strut's gone, she's just mad and confused. She'd probably stomp back to her house, muttering, trying to figure out what to do. Maybe she'd bang on my door, but no one's home. Maybe she'd call someone, whining about her car, but what could they do? It's my barn, my lock, my rules. She'd pushed me too far, weeks of parking, trash, smirks, and now she's paying for it. Oh, it gets better, trust me. This isn't the end, it's just the big reveal, the moment she sees I'm not quiet Sam anymore. I'm Sam who fights back, Sam who wins. I sit by the lake all weekend, sleeping in my truck, cooking fish over a little fire. Saturday passes, then Sunday, and I don't think about my phone once. No calls, no yelling, just peace. But in my head, I keep imagining Karen. Did she try to pick the lock? Did she glare at the barn all day? Did she tell the neighbors, hoping they'd feel bad for her? I bet her face was red, her hands on her hips, her voice loud. That Sam locked my car in his barn, she'd say, and I'd laugh from miles away. She thought she could take my barn forever, but I took it back with one little click. The whole time I'm fishing, I feel lighter. Like a weight's off my shoulders. My barn's mine again, even if her car's still in there. She can't park it anymore, can't smirk at me, can't leave her trash. That lock changed everything. It's not just a lock, it's my way of saying, no more, Karen. She'd messed with me for weeks, thinking I'd never do anything. But I did. I locked her out or locked her in, depending on how you look at it. And now she knows, I'm not the guy she thought I was. Sunday night rolls around, and I'm still at the lake, watching the stars. My cooler's full of fish, My pole's leaning on a tree, and I'm happy. Really happy. Back home, Karen's probably fuming. Her SUV's trapped, and she can't do a thing about it. Can you see her stomping around, mad as a hornet? That moment she realized she'd picked the wrong guy to mess with. It's the best feeling, knowing I turned it all around. She thought she was so smart, so in charge, but I was smarter. One lock, one click, and I won. Hey there, we're still in the middle of the big moment, the climax where everything flips upside down for Karen. I've got her car locked tight in my barn, and I'm off fishing, feeling like a champ. Let's keep this story rolling, step by step, so you can see it all play out like a movie in your head. It's simple, it's fun, and it's about to get even wilder. Ready? Let's dive back in. So, it's Friday afternoon, and I've just locked Karen's shiny SUV in my barn. That click of the padlock still echoes in my ears as I hop in my truck and drive off. My fishing pole's in the back, my cooler's packed with snacks, and I'm headed to the lake for a whole weekend away. No phone, no worries, just me, the water, and a big grin on my face. The barn doors are shut tight, her car's trapped inside, and Karen doesn't even know it yet. I can't stop thinking about what's going to happen when she finds out. Oh boy, it's going to be something. I'm driving down the bumpy road, the wind whipping through my open window, and I feel free. My farm's behind me, Karen's behind me, and all that barn trouble? Gone for now. I picture her walking back later, maybe in an hour or two, all sassy and sure of herself. She'd strut up to the barn, ready to grab her car and zoom off, then stop. Those big red doors, locked with my heavy padlock, staring back at her. No way in, no way out. Her SUV, her pride and joy, stuck inside like a bird in a cage. I laugh out loud in my truck, the sound bouncing around. Can you see her face? That smirk turning into a frown, her eyes getting big, her jaw dropping? It's the best thing I've imagined all week. I get to the lake just as the sun's starting to dip low. It's my favorite spot, quiet, with trees all around and water so clear you can see the fish swimming. I park my truck, grab my pole, and set up by the shore. The air smells like pine and water, and my shoulders relax. I toss my line in, sit on a big rock, and let the world fade away. No clucking chickens, no mooing cows, no Karen, just peace. But every now and then, I think about her. What's she doing right now? Has she seen the lock yet? I bet she's back at the barn, tugging on those doors, yelling my name. Sam. Sam, you open this right now, she'd shout, but I'm not there. I'm here, fishing, and she's stuck. Back at the farm, it probably went like this. Karen finishes whatever she was doing, maybe gossiping with a friend or sipping more coffee, and decides to get her car. She walks over, her shoes clicking, her head high, thinking everything's fine. She gets to the barn, reaches for the doors and freezes. They don't budge. She pulls harder, rattling the wood, but nothing. Then she sees it, my padlock, big and rusty, holding the doors shut. Her car's inside, she can probably see it through the tiny crack between the doors, but she can't get to it. I bet her face goes red, her hands fly to her hips, and she stomps her foot. Sam, she'd yell again, spinning around to look for me. But my truck's gone, my house is quiet, and she's all alone with her trapped SUV. I'm chuckling by the lake, imagining her kicking the doors, maybe even shaking her fist at the sky. She'd be so mad. That smirk she always gave me, wiped clean off. Her strut turned into a stomp. She'd realize it then, she messed with the wrong guy. All those weeks of parking in my barn, leaving trash, laughing at me, they led to this. One little lock, and I turned it all around. She thought I'd never fight back, that I'd just keep asking nicely and then give up. But nope. I locked her car in there and took off, leaving her to figure it out. Can you picture it? Her standing there, helpless, while I'm miles away, free as a bird. The fish start biting, and I pull one in, a little silver one that flops on the rock. I toss it back, grab a sandwich from my cooler, and keep fishing. The sun sets, painting the sky orange and pink, and I feel so good. Back home, Karen's probably still fuming. Maybe she ran to her house, grabbed her phone, and started calling people. Sam locked my car in his barn, she'd whine to her friends. Or maybe she banged on my door, thinking I'd come running. But I'm not there, I'm here, by the water, and she can't do a thing about it. Her SUV's trapped, and I've got the key. It's the best feeling ever. Saturday morning comes, and I'm up with the sun. I make a little fire, cook some fish for breakfast, and sit by the lake again. The air's cool, the birds are singing, and I'm calm. But I keep thinking about Karen. What's she doing now? Did she try to pick the lock? I bet she stood there with a hairpin or something, poking at it, huffing and puffing when it didn't work. That padlock's tough, no way she'd crack it. Maybe she glared at the barn all night, plotting how to get me back. Or maybe she told the neighbors, hoping they'd feel sorry for her. Poor Karen, her car's stuck, they might say, but I bet some of them laughed. They know how she is, always bossing everyone around. Now she's the one stuck. I spend the day fishing, swimming, napping in the sun. Every hour or so, I picture her face again, that moment she saw the lock. Her eyes wide, her mouth open, her hands flapping like she doesn't know what to do. It's so funny, I laugh out loud, scaring a duck off the water. She'd been so sure of herself, parking in my barn like it was hers, smirking at me like I was nothing. But one click of that lock, and I showed her. I'm not just Quiet Sam, the farmer she can push around. I'm Sam with a plan, Sam who wins. Her precious SUV, the one she polishes and brags about, is locked away, and she can't touch it. Oh, it's perfect. Sunday rolls around, and I'm still at the lake, loving every minute. I've got a pile of fish in my cooler, my truck's muddy from the dirt road, and I'm happy. Really happy. Back home, Karen's probably losing her mind. Did she try to climb through a window? My barn's got one, but it's tiny and high up, no way she'd fit. Did she yell at the doors some more? I bet she did, her voice echoing across the farm. Sam, you let my car out, she'd scream, but no one's there to hear. My chickens might cluck back, my cows might moo, but I'm gone. She's stuck, and I'm free. How's that for a twist? Can you see her face right now? That big reveal when she knew she'd lost? Her smirk gone, her confidence gone, just a mad lady with a locked up car? It's the best part of the story. She'd pushed me for weeks, parking, trashing my barn, laughing at me, and I took it all. But not anymore. Friday was my day, my moment. I grabbed that padlock, swung those doors shut, and locked her out of the game. Click, and it was over. She messed with the wrong guy, and now she knows it. I bet her hands shook, her voice cracked, her head spun. All because of one little lock. I sit by the lake Sunday night, watching the stars twinkle over the water. My fishing pole's leaning on a tree, my fire's crackling, and I'm smiling. I'll head home tomorrow, but for now, I'm soaking it in. Karen's back there, probably still mad, her SUV still trapped. She thought she was so smart, so in charge, but I was smarter. One weekend away, one locked barn, and I turned it all around. She'd never see me the same way again, not after this. Can you imagine her standing there, staring at those doors, knowing she'd been beat? It's the sweetest victory, and I didn't even have to yell. Hey there, friends. We're at the part where everything wraps up nice and neat, the resolution. This is when I come home, face Karen, and justice gets served in the best way ever. I'm going to tell it step by step, so you can see it all happen like you're right there with me. It's simple, it's awesome, and it's going to make you cheer. Ready? Let's jump in. So, it's Sunday night, and I'm driving back from my fishing trip at the lake. My truck's rumbling down the road, my cooler's full of fish, and I'm feeling great. The stars are out, the air's cool, and I've had the best weekend. No Karen, no barn trouble, just me and the water. I locked her shiny SUV in my barn with my big padlock on Friday, then took off, leaving her to figure it out. I've been picturing her face all weekend, mad, shocked, stomping around, and it's kept me grinning. Now I'm almost home, and I'm wondering what I'll find. Has she given up? Is her car still there? Oh boy, I'm about to find out. I pull into my driveway, and my headlights sweep across the farm. The barn's still standing, doors shut tight, just like I left them. That padlock's still on, glinting in the light. My chickens are quiet, my cows are sleeping, everything looks peaceful. But then I see her. Karen. She's standing by my barn, arms crossed, face red like a tomato. She's waiting for me, and she's mad, really mad. As soon as my truck stops, she marches over, her shoes crunching on the gravel. I hop out, still holding my fishing pole, and she starts yelling before I can even shut the door. "Sam," she shouts, her voice loud enough to wake the chickens. "You let my car out right now? I've been waiting all weekend. I'll call the cops." Her words hit me like a storm, but I don't flinch. I just stand there, leaning on my truck, and smile. Yup, I smile calm and easy, like it's no big deal. She's waving her arms, her hair's a mess, and her face is so red I think it might pop. "Sam, this isn't funny," she yells. "You locked my car in there. Open it now." I look at her, still smiling, and say, "Go ahead, Karen. Call the cops. It's my barn, my rules." My voice is quiet, steady, not mad, not loud, just sure. She blinks at me, like she can't believe I'm not scared. Then she pulls out her phone, jabbing at it with her finger, and stomps off a few steps, muttering, "You'll see, Sam. You'll see." I don't move. I just watch her, my fishing pole in one hand, my keys in the other. My barn's locked, her car's inside, and I'm not worried one bit. She's yelling into her phone now, "Yes, hello, police. My neighbor locked my car in his barn. You need to come here right now." And I lean back, waiting. The night's quiet except for her voice, and I can hear my chickens clucking softly, like they're curious too. I think about my weekend fishing, swimming, laughing by the lake, and I know I've already won. Karen can yell all she wants, but this is my farm, my barn, my lock. Let's see what happens. It doesn't take long. About 10 minutes later, I see lights flashing down the road. A police car pulls up, slow and steady, and an officer steps out. He's tall, with a hat and a flashlight, and he looks tired, like he'd rather be home than here. Karen runs over to him, pointing at me, then the barn. "Officer," she says, her voice all high and squeaky. "He locked my car in his barn. All weekend. You have to make him open it." She's bouncing on her feet, her hands flapping, like she's sure he'll take her side. The officer nods at her, then walks over to me. "Evening," he says, nice and calm. "What's going on here?" I smile at him, still leaning on my truck. "Hey, officer," I say. "That's my barn. She's been parking her car in there for weeks without asking. I locked it up Friday and went fishing. Just got back." My voice is simple, clear, no yelling, no fuss. The officer raises an eyebrow, then turns to Karen. "That true?" he asks her. She sputters, her face getting redder. "Well, yes, but it's just a barn. He can't lock my car in there. That's not fair." The officer sighs, shines his flashlight on the barn, and takes a good look. The doors are shut, the padlock's on, and it's all quiet. He walks over, tugs on the lock once, then turns back to us. "Ma'am," he says to Karen, "this is private property. His barn, his lock. He can close it whenever he wants. If your car's in there, that's on you for parking where you shouldn't." Karen's jaw drops, literally drops, like in a cartoon. Her mouth hangs open, her eyes go wide, and she stares at him. But it's my car," she says, her voice all shaky. The officer shrugs. "Doesn't matter. It's his barn. You want it out, talk to him." "But I can't make him open it." Then he looks at me, nods, and says, "Have a good night." He heads back to his car, leaving Karen standing there, speechless. I can't help it, I grin. A big, happy grin, right in front of her. She's still staring at the police car as it drives off, her hands clenched into fists. Then she spins around to me, her eyes flashing. "Sam, you open that barn right now," she snaps, but it's weaker now, like she knows she's lost. I don't say anything at first. I just walk over to the barn, my boots slow and steady on the ground. She follows me, huffing, muttering under her breath. I pull the key from my pocket, the little key that fits my padlock, and hold it up so she can see. "Karen," I say, calm as can be, "I'm done with you parking here. Next time, ask." Her face twists, like she's going to argue, but I don't give her a chance. I slide the key into the padlock, turn it, and click, it pops open. I swing the doors wide, and there's her SUV, shiny and perfect, right where she left it. I step back, pull her keys from the seat, she'd left them there, like always, and toss them to her. She catches them, her hands shaking a little, and glares at me. "You're ridiculous, Sam," she says, but her voice is small now, not loud like before. I just smile and say, "Maybe. But it's my barn." She climbs into her car, slams the door, and starts the engine. Then she peels out, tires squealing on the dirt, kicking up dust as she speeds off to her house. She's gone and she hasn't come back since. The next day, the neighbors are buzzing. I'm out feeding my chickens, and Tom rides by on his bike. "Sam," he calls, laughing. "Heard you locked Karen's car in your barn. She's been griping to everyone, says you're mean." I shrug and grin. "She parked there too long," I say. Tom shakes his head, still laughing. "She's mad as a wet cat, but nobody's on her side." We're all giggling about it. Later, Mrs. Lucy stops by with some cookies. "Good for you, Sam," she says. "Karen needed that. She's been quiet all day." I take the cookies, smile, and feel warm inside. Sweet, sweet justice. Weeks go by, and my barn's mine again. No SUV, no trash, no smirks, just hay, tools, and quiet. Karen drives by sometimes, but she doesn't stop. She doesn't even look at me, just keeps her eyes on the road. The neighbors still talk about it, chuckling over their fences. "Remember when Sam locked Karen's car in," they say, and it's like a little legend now. My farm's peaceful, my chickens are happy, and I've got my space back. That lock? It's still on the nail, ready if I need it, but I don't think I will. Karen learned her lesson one weekend, and she's done messing with me. What do you think? Wasn't that the best ending? Tell me in the comments, did Karen deserve it? Because I say yes. She pushed me, and I pushed back, and justice was served. My barn, my rules, and now everyone knows it. Hey there, friends. We've made it to the end, the part where I sit back, think about everything that happened, and share something special with you. This is the reflective part, where I look at what I learned and try to leave you feeling good, maybe even ready to stand up for yourself too. I'm going to keep it super simple, so you can follow along and feel every word, just like a 4th or 6th grader could. Ready? Let's wrap this story up with a big, happy bow. So, here's the thing, sometimes the quiet ones, the ones who don't make a fuss, are the ones you shouldn't mess with. That's me, Sam, the farmer who likes his chickens, his cows, and his big red barn. I don't yell, I don't fight, I don't stomp around like some people do. I'm the guy who stays calm, who feeds his animals and fixes his fences without a big show. Karen didn't get that. She thought because I'm quiet, because I didn't shout when she parked her shiny SUV in my barn, that I was weak. She thought she could walk all over me, park where she wanted, leave her trash, smirk at me like I was nothing. But she was wrong. Oh boy, was she wrong. See, Karen didn't see the lock coming. All those weeks, she kept pushing me, driving into my barn, tossing her coffee cups, laughing when I asked her to stop. She thought I'd just take it, that I'd never push back. But I was watching, thinking, planning. I didn't need to yell or argue, I had my big, rusty padlock and a sneaky idea. That Friday, when I locked her car in my barn and drove off to the lake, I showed her. Quiet doesn't mean weak. Quiet can mean smart, quiet can mean strong. And when I clicked that lock shut, I proved it. She didn't expect it, not one bit, and that's what made it so perfect. I think about it now, sitting on my porch with a glass of milk from my cows. The sun setting, painting the sky all orange and pink, and my barn's quiet again. No SUV, no trash, just my hay and tools, the way it should be. Karen thought she had all the power because she was loud, because she acted like she owned everything. But real power? Maybe it's not about being loud or bossy. Maybe it's about knowing when to stand up and how to do it with style. I didn't scream at her, I didn't fight her, I just locked my barn and went fishing. Simple, sneaky, and oh so sweet. That's my kind of power, and it worked like a charm. What do you think about that? Have you ever been quiet but still found a way to win? Maybe you didn't yell at a bully, but you outsmarted them instead. Or maybe you waited, watched, and then did something clever to fix a problem. I bet you've got a story. I want to hear it. Because that's what this is all about, finding your strength, even if you're not the loudest one in the room. Karen didn't see my strength until it was too late, and when she did, her jaw dropped. That's the moment I'll never forget, her standing there, mad and shocked, while I smiled and handed her the keys. Quiet Sam won, and it felt amazing. Looking back, I learned something big. It's okay to be quiet, to like your peace, to not make a big fuss. But it's also okay to stand up when someone crosses your line. My barn's my line, my special place, my hard work. Karen crossed it, over and over, thinking I'd never do anything. But I did. I stood up, not with words or fists, but with a lock and a plan. And that's what I want you to remember: you don't have to be loud to be strong. You can be you, quiet, loud, whatever, and still show the world you're not a pushover. Find your lock, your clever idea, and use it when you need to. That's real power, and it's inside all of us. Now my farm's back to normal. The chickens cluck, the cows moo, and my barn's mine again. Karen drives by sometimes, but she doesn't stop. She doesn't smirk anymore, just keeps her eyes on the road. The neighbors still laugh about it, telling the story like it's a fun little tale. Sam locked Karen's car in his barn, they say, giggling over their coffee. And me? I'm happy. I've got my peace, my space, and a big lesson learned. Karen deserved it. I think she pushed too far, and I pushed back. Not mean, not loud, just smart. Sweet, sweet justice, served with a smile. So, what do you think? Did she deserve it? I say yes. She thought she could keep taking my barn, but I showed her I'm not just a quiet farmer. I'm Sam who stands up, Sam who wins with style. Tell me in the comments, did you like that part where I locked the barn? Or maybe when the cop told her it's my rules? What's your favorite moment? I want to know. Because this story's not just about me, it's about all of us. The quiet ones, the clever ones, the ones who don't give up. We've all got power, and when we use it right, nobody can walk all over us. Let's think about it some more. Picture me now, rocking on my porch, the stars coming out. My barn's safe, my animals are happy, and I'm proud. Karen's somewhere in her house, maybe still mad, but she's not here. She learned her lesson, and I learned mine. Standing up doesn't mean you have to change who you are, it means you use who you are to make things right. I'm quiet, I'm simple, I like my farm life. But I'm also strong, sneaky, and ready to protect what's mine. That's the secret, I think. Be yourself, but don't let anyone take what matters to you. One lock, one click, and I kept my barn. You can do that too, in your own way. What's your barn? Maybe it's your room, your favorite toy, your time with friends. Whatever it is, hold on to it. If someone tries to take it, don't be afraid to stand up, quiet or loud, big or small. You've got your own padlock, your own plan, even if it's just in your head right now. Karen didn't see mine coming, and that's what made it so great. She thought quiet meant weak, but quiet meant I was thinking, waiting, winning. Maybe the real power's in surprising people, not with noise, but with smarts and style. So, here's my last thought for you: don't let anyone walk all over you. Be kind, be you, but be ready. Karen didn't expect me to fight back, but I did, and it changed everything. My barn's mine, my peace is mine, and I'm stronger for it. You can be strong too, quiet or not, big or small. Stand up when it counts, do it your way, and watch the Karens of the world learn their lesson. What do you say? Ready to find your lock? Tell me your favorite part, tell me what you'd do, and let's keep this fun going in the comments. Because sometimes, the quiet ones are the ones who win, and that's the best ending of all.